So, hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the third and fourth tier talk. I'm host Samuel Wright, joined by Cambridge United fan Callum Tofts and Tranmere Rovers fan Ethan Hoijord. Well, guys, we're going to start with Tranmere Rovers, Ethan, actually, and yourselves. 4 straight wins in the league. Obviously, a couple of games called off recently due to COVID, unfortunately, but it's been a good season so far for Tranmere, really. How are you finding it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a mixed start the first few months, but that was what you were always going to get with new players. And I remember talking to you about that. Well, I'm pretty sure it was yourself. I remember talking to you about that because in the summer we had about 20 players going in and 20 players coming out, so it was always going to be kind of hard to find our feet. But I feel like we're in a lot better position now. I mean, if you look at the table, we're third, which is obviously a sign that you're doing something right come January. And so, yeah, going forwards, we're still lacking probably. But in defence, we've been solid all season. And I feel like we've got the attackers in Kieran Morris, a few good strikers are doing well. Elliot Nevitt, Jolly linking up quite well. So the team's building quite nicely. And it'll be interesting to see if we can add on that in the January window.
Yeah, Ethan, one of the standout things for Tranmere, of course, they've conceded the least in the league this season, just 14, but they've only scored 20, which is the fewest out of the top 19 teams in League Two. So How have you found that? Do you feel like it's a little bit of an issue as in scoring goals, or do you think that as long as you're getting the results, do you not really mind the style of football?
Well, you can look at it and say it's a bit of an issue, really, because it is definitely a bit of an issue. But, I mean, is it an issue because you're sitting third and your defence is looking really comfortable? So it's hard. It is hard to talk about that. But obviously, any team would like to score goals, and I feel like the two main strikers that we're playing with now, Elliot Nevitt and Charlie Jolly, they're relatively new to league football. Nevitt's playing for Warrington last season, and Jolly coming in from Alona Chester this season, and they've linked up quite well. But I feel like we probably need to add an attacker or two in the January window just to start scoring goals, because it's all like keeping clean sheets and winning. But if it's not just for the entertainment style, or you need a striker who you know and you can rely on that can score goals. And Nicky Maynard seems to be that. He scored on Saturday, but then he also got injured on Saturday. And that seems to be he's been out for. It looks like he's going to be out for quite some time now. So yeah, and could probably add a few, one or two in January to make us a bit more solid.
Yeah, Callum, we're going to speak about Cambridge, of course, in League One, 17th in the table at the moment. Of course, the league table right now might not look as accurate as it may be due to all the suspensions and stuff like that. But Cambridge haven't actually played a game since mid-December, which was against Rotherham. You're facing Portsmouth on a Monday, but as for Cambridge season so far, what have you made of it, would you say?
I think overall, I mentioned it last week as well in the when we reviewed everything, but I think for Cambridge fans personally, just staying up is our main objective this year. You look at it, you kind of think, okay, we're up in League One. We could have a really tough time and not really get any points at all on the board, but we're holding our own in the big games as well. I don't know if you guys watched the Rotherham game on also the highlights, but my personal opinion being it was we dominated most of that game and really didn't give top of the league Rotherham any chance at all, apart from a few opportunities which they could have scored, but we could have scored a few as well. We had a good few chances that arguably another day would have gone in. I think for us, that's the biggest problem at the moment, is we're having these brilliant chance at games against these big teams and we're staying in games, but we're not turning them into points at all. And that's a bit of a worrying part for me. Personally, I love, keeping in against Sunderland. Rotherham is a brilliant thing to know we're battling against the big teams in the league, but we're not getting the points where I think we should. And arguably could come down to the end of the season in March and April that we're then they're going to start affecting us in a way, because we could be 4 points up from safety. And you look on back in games thinking, oh, we should have got a point there. We could have got a point there. Okay, we played well, but we need to get points. And I think, you look at a promoted team, we're doing well with, like I said, we're battling against big teams. We're above the relegation quite comfortably at the moment, but we need to make sure that we stay that way and not kind of get a bit too lackluster in a way, because you can get too optimistic, it's really hard to kind of put an actual phrase on it, but you can get way too above and beyond and overachieving in a way. Then it comes crashing down and you finally realize where you are again. But I think overall, the signings we made, I'm really, really impressed with them. And overall, I can't have any complaints fully, apart from we're having good performances, but just not turning into results.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Callum, I want to mention about Joe Ironside, 11 goals this season. He's really filled the boots well of course, Paul Mullin, who unfortunately did leave in the summer. Do you think Ironside could be a good shout for the Golden Boot, or are you looking at players like Stockton and, who could possibly be above him? But even so, his goals, if you are to stay up, are going to be a vital part, really.
Yeah, I think him and Sam Smith, I think Smith's on 10 goals out in all competitions this season and coming in as really a second, as a backup for Ironside. I think this year was the main thing for him, but him and Ironside kind of stayed level, which has been brilliant. But you look at teams, that every team needs a goal scorer, because you can have all the possession, all the chances in the world, but not score them. But thankfully, we've got a goal scorer. I think our problem is with Wes Hoolahan out injured at the moment. It's the creativity is not really flowing as what we would like, because we're getting into these good positions, but the final ball or the second opportunity goes missing. And that, to me, there's only so much Ironside and Smith can do, but you need that service from the likes of Hoolahan, Brophy, Tracy, who's out injured at the moment. We've had quite a lot of injury troubles as well at the moment, so I think that can play a part of it. But I think overall, I'm really happy with Ironside. I think when Mullin left, you think, oh God, where's the goals going to come from in the season? And I think it was like 31 goals or something ridiculous last season he scored, but Ironside scored 15. I think that got really underlooked. I kind of use this, if you guys watch basketball, the kind of Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan kind of thing. Michael Jordan gets all the credit but Pippen does all the dirty work. And it was a bit like that last season. Ironside done all the dirty work, battling, got quite a few assists in the end as well. And Mullin got all the praise and all the goals. But I think overall, I would much rather, and personally, I would take Ironside over Mullin at this point of the season. I think Ironside does more than just score. And I think that's such a big key and big factor for us as a team. And he holds the ball up really well. So I'm really happy with how he's doing and adapted to League One this season.
Yep. Ethan, I visited Prenton Park a few weeks ago to watch Tranmere Rovers versus Bradford. Was really impressive with Tranmere fans. Thought they were very good, very vocal, especially with it being a Tuesday night game as well. In terms of teams you've watched play against Tranmere this season, though, Ethan, which one stood out for you?
I seem to put all the teams in different categories, really. So obviously you have the teams that you expect to frustrate you a bit, but in the lower leagues, you never really know what you're going to get, do you? So, and then talking about the teams that have probably surprised me. No, I wouldn't say that anyone really has surprised me, to be honest, because when we've played well, we've more or less won. So it's more likely been us that have made other teams look good in a way. Yeah, I don't really know who I would say I've watched and he's been playing well. I was a bit surprised the other week when Tranmere versus Oldham, and I thought that Oldham should have won that, really, because I thought that if that was any other team against us, then he would have won. But I think that also, that just shows the problems that Oldham have at the moment on and off the pitch, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oldham, of course, really struggling off the field. That is a very good point you make there. I want to talk about Mickey Mellon for a moment as well, Ethan. Obviously, very much a hero in Tranmere. Obviously, 2 promotions, back-to-back promotions, of course, in 2018 and 19. He's back at the club now, of course, after a brief time away. In terms of manager, though, do you think he's the right man going forward, or do you think he's a man to do a job for a next manager to come in?
No, I think he's doing an amazing job, to be honest. Because at the start, I feel like every manager really would have problems with the team that we had, because I spoke before about the recruitment and everything, but that's what was needed to happen. And the players that Mickey Mellon has brought in, which has been quite a lot, they've all seemed to understand what, I don't want to use a cliche, but they seem to understand what the club's about. So they seem to all be hard-working footballers. I think that's another way of describing them, really, because they've all, if they've not got a point to prove in terms of they should be playing in the Football League, they've got a point to prove in the terms of staying in the Football League. So you talk with the likes of McManaman and players like that Mickey Mellon have brought in, and he's not had the best of starts, but he's been all right. And Mickey Mellon's recruitment it's okay, his recruitment style, really, and his playing style really is all right as well. But if he just starts scoring a bit more goals, and Mickey Mellon is someone that the fans love, and Mickey Mellon's love the fans, so it's always a great sort of a bridge between the clubs, between the club when we're going on that little on that mixed period of form and everything. Because I sort of look at it and say we've got the best manager that I think the club could possibly get, and his assistants are great too. Ian Dawes and Andy Parkinson. So we've got a great coaching setup, a great team full of players who want to fight for the club to go up, and it's looking really good. Just about who we can get in January, but yeah, I think in terms of Mickey Mellon being the right manager, I think for me he'll always probably be the right manager, because I would never want him to be sacked due to the relationship that I have with him personally, like when I've met him and everything like that, and the relationship that he has with the fan bases in general, and the success that he's brought to the club in the past.
Yep, Callum, I've got to mention Cambridge United's third round FA Cup tie, actually. Big one, of course, Newcastle United away. Newcastle, of course, Premier League club, or for now anyway, but obviously we know, of course, about the new situation and what they could potentially do in January with the amount of money they have. But for Cambridge fans, that's a very exciting trip. You know, how much you're looking forward to it, and what are you expecting from it?
I think hopefully it's the worry it's going to be cancelled at this point because of restrictions and COVID and everything like that. I think hopefully it's going ahead as it stands. What, we're a week away from the tie now, and it's every day you kind of keep checking the news and hoping it doesn't get called off because it's such a big game. And okay, the game can still go ahead behind closed doors, but that's going to kind of hurt as a Cambridge fan not be able to go, because I think we've sold 5,500 and something like that tickets now, which is amazing for us. I think that's pretty much our home support capacity going up there, and it's going to be a wonderful atmosphere. And I think the money side of it as well, looking from a business point, it's going to benefit us a lot, because I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's 50% of all ticket sales. That's including Newcastle fans as well, goes to half of Newcastle, half of Cambridge. So that's going to be a massive boost for us if we can get fans in the stadium, which I really hope it will do. But it's just going to be a wonderful day. And I think you look at the game, I think, okay, we're not expected to win this at all. We could get turned over 7 or 8-0 and be really miserable going home. But I think overall, you look at Newcastle and they're going to play their second team, I think, because, you know, players want to fight for the position to stay with all these changes happening at Newcastle. So I reckon a second team will be expected for Newcastle coming out of it. But I can see us staying in the game. I think we've proven we can stay in the game against Sunderland, Ipswich, you know, Rotherham. But okay, it's a completely different thing, but it is the FA Cup, and you've got to stay optimistic in these things. It can happen. We got a draw against Man United 4 years ago at home when they had Falcao, Van Persie, all these wonderful attackers, and they couldn't score. It's a completely different era, I now know that, but you've got to be excited for this, and it's just something you dream about, going into the third round, getting a big team, having a massive away day, and just enjoying it. I think that's what most Cambridge fans are going to do, just go and enjoy the game, have a good atmosphere, and just enjoy being at arguably one of the best stadiums in the country, the best atmosphere.
Absolutely. You'll certainly be up in the heavens if you do attend Newcastle anyway. Of course, their away end are very much known for that. I just asked Ethan, of course, about their manager, Mickey Mellon. I'm going to ask about one person don't really mention much to Callum, and that's Mark Bonner, the Cambridge manager. I mean, we don't really mention much on how much of a good job he's really done, of course, getting the club promoted last season in second place as well. You know, I mean, your thoughts on Bonner, of course, and if you were to stay up this season, of course, surely he would stay in the job then. But again, do you see it as a long-term project?
I think Mark Bonner is the perfect manager for Cambridge at this moment. He's a fan. He's been there. He used to be a season ticket holder. It's the imperfect environment for them players to have a fan who's dedicated to the club, who's been there his whole life, whole managerial and coaching career, and he's managing his boyhood club, which I think is brilliant. You look at his way in like press conferences, interviews, just chatting to him as well. You watch him play, watch him coach. He cares about the team's morale and mentality, mental health, and it's more to him than just getting the results on the pitch. I think he's a breath of fresh air on the pitch, and he kind of went into the job last year with no expectations at all, having done really well in his interim job and then got the permanent job. No one really expected us to do that well last year. And I think with the key signs he brought in, he's always made some good signings. I think him and Ben Strang, who's our financial person and brings the transfers in, has done really well in that sense as well with him. But we've also, on our coaching staff, we've got Barry Core. I don't know if you guys know, he's our former striker and quite a good striker for us as well. And I think it's still keeping the core, the players know him, the fans know him, and it's still keeping that core togetherness. But going back on Bonnet, he keeps such a tight unit together, and it is a family club and all these wonderful things. But it's just this togetherness of the club and the manager and the fans, and he cares about what the fans think, what the players think, and it's more than just results on the pitch. I think is the big thing, and he cares about the players more than other managers would. In a way, you kind of get a manager come into a club, and he might not really care too much about the fans and the players or the actual club as a whole. Bonner's different to that because he's been around the club his whole life pretty much. So I think he's done a brilliant job, and the way he sets up the team, he knows the players in and out, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere around the club at the moment. Okay, even if we lose, he knows the players gave 100%, and he will, rectify that for the next game. And this time last year, we were second in the league, I think it was, going into after the Christmas period, and kind of thinking we could have a chance of promotion, but never did I still think 12 months later we're 17th in League One and drawing to Ipswich at home and having Newcastle in the FA Cup in the third round and playing Portsmouth in the same week. It's just a wonderful job the whole club's done in the last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Ethan, I asked you a moment ago, of course, about who you think, which teams are surprised you really playing Tranmere this season. What I'm asking now about is your thoughts on top of the table, really. I mean, obviously Tranmere right up there right now, but if you're to say right now which three teams you think will be promoted, automatically, at least from League Two, which teams are you thinking?
Thinking Forest Green, definitely, just because of how well they started the season. I mean, I've told you about, I don't really look too much at the lower leagues, but I feel there are a few decent teams around the promotion places in League Two. I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Sutton United finish, because I think they're fifth at the moment, aren't they? They're up there with fourth. So
yeah.
You've got Forest Green first, Northampton second, Tranmere third, and Sutton fourth. Who's fifth?
Port Vale, Newport County, and Swindon make up the playoffs.
Port Vale are a very decent team too. They've started well under Darryl Clark, the manager. So it'll be interesting to see how they finish their season, because I feel with the COVID postponements as well, it's very interesting to see how the season's going to finish, really, because you got the new players coming in and you've got that tight fixture schedule if the COVID postponements are still going on, like into the new year, really. So yeah, you've got that. So it'll just be about the strong teams, really. So I can probably see us, Port Vale, and Forest Green being the top three. And I feel Sutton, I don't know where they finish. Had a very, very good start to the season, but with this being their first season back in the Football League, will they continue that on? Not too sure. But it'll be interesting to see where they finish, where Northampton finish. And yeah, I think Port Vale and Tranmere and Forest Green will be the three that go up, most probably.
Yeah, that's a fair prediction. Also, Ethan, as it is, of course, New Year's Eve, I'm going to ask for your favourite Tranmere memory of 2021.
I'll be honest, mate. There's this little lad who's got a brain tumour. He scored in front of the Kop with his dad helping him score the goal. And that for me, just it done quite a bit for me, that, to be honest, in terms of being an emotional moment of the year, because I feel around this COVID period as well, it's been all about very community-wise, really, hasn't it, with clubs that are clubs, especially at the lower leagues, and with Tranmere being a very community club, which I'm sure Cambridge probably are as well. That was a very nice moment that sort of summed up the club, and I'm close with his dad as well. And that's obviously a very nice moment for me to see. But in terms of other moments, in terms of the actual footballing moments on the pitch, I'm going to go for seeing the fans back in the stadium. And there's been some great games, and that was another great game, really, the Walsall the home to start the season. But to start the season in front of your own fans after being away for COVID for such a long time, it was quite a nice way to start the season. Like get a win, fans back in the stadium, and just start the season anew without COVID. But obviously that's trying to tinkle its way back in, really, isn't it? COVID.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed fans can, of course, remain in the stadium. Callum, I'm going to ask you next about League One. Relegation battle firstly, and then your promotion, please. So maybe the top two and then a team you potentially can win the playoffs. But in terms of 4 teams to go down, Callum, right now, it's relegation battle's getting quite interesting, really, in League One. The teams at the bottom are starting to pick up a little form.
Yeah, it's quite worrying as a Cambridge fan. We've dipped off in form and they've started picking up in form. So hopefully that can change again and we carry on with good form and they dip down in form again. But I think overall, you look at Crewe and Doncaster in the bottom, I think it's 2 go down this year. I could be wrong, it could be 3, but if overall, I think it's going to be them too. I can't see anything, and seeing them play us as well, it's not looking that likely they're going to stay up. Okay, I could be wrong. Morecambe sadly could slip down there, and we've still got a chance of slipping down there as well, same as Shrewsbury. But I think overall, it's going to be them two to go down, I'm afraid. Sorry, Doncaster and Crewe fans. But I think teams going to go up. My pick to win the league is Rotherham. I think they're such a really good team, very well supported as well. And they've done it before, and hopefully this time they can stay in the Championship. I think Sunderland as well is going to go up in the automatics. I think, beating 5-0 against Sheffield Wednesday yesterday, I think it was, that is a really good result for them. And I think, their time is now to go up, which is good. Playoffs, it's a tough one, but I'm going to go for an outsider and say Oxford. I think, they've been around the playoffs for a few years now, and they're kind of slowly building something really good there as a club. And they play well, and I think they can, if they get the results carrying on to the next half of the season, they could really surprise a few teams, and they have done this already this year. So I'm going to say that Sunderland, Rotherham, and Oxford win the playoffs.
Excellent. Also, Callum, I'll ask what I also asked Ethan. Your favourite footballing moment for Cambridge of 2021?
Oh God, there's a few. It's been quite a good year for us. I can not normally say that as a Cambridge fan that we've had a good year, but surprisingly, we've had done. God. Okay. I'm not going to mention Harrogate. The 5-4 game there.
What a game that was.
That was incredible. I think overall, I'm going to have to. I'm going to say 2. I can't pick one. I think the first one's what we beat Grimsby on the final day of the season to get promotion. I can't rule that out, and getting promoted, that's such a big thing of the year. But I'm also, and it's a bit of a kind of hanging on to something, I'm going to say the 2-2 draw against Ipswich when we scored in the last minute. I think as a local derby and as such, us being a small team and they're having such a big team, and it was such a wonderful game, and coming back from 2-0 down to draw it 2 in the last minute is brilliant. So I'm going to say them 2 as my best moments of the season.
Excellent. Well, fantastic, guys. That's all we've got time for this evening anyway on the 3rd and 4th tier talk. Well, thank you both very much for joining me. Hope everyone enjoyed the show, and a happy new year to you all.
Cheers, guys. All the best in the new year.
Cheers, guys.
All good night. See you.